Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I am sharing with you two very cute, very inexpensive, very easy, very gingerbread Christmas tree ornaments. I hope you feel inspired to see step by step just how I created these two very cute ornaments. If so, stay tuned and welcome to all to my channel today. If you're not currently a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one. Lots of creative, fabulous Christmas decor tutorials coming up in the coming weeks. So set your notifications and as well give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy. Share this tutorial with others. And leave me your comments. I always love receiving them. Okay, let's get creating. All right, let's look at the items that I used to create these two ornaments. Now, these are some little mason jar wood crafting cutouts. Now, I've had these for quite some time. As I recall, they come in a bag with many in the bag. So I've had them for years, but I'm certain that I had gotten those on Amazon. So I would say put in a search for mason jar wood crafting cutouts, and I'm sure you will be able to find multiple stores that carry them. I also have here a package of these wood pile rolling pins, and these I had gotten recently at Hobby Lobby. So, yeah, every other week, the wood department is on sale, 40% off. So you may be able to pick those up, in fact, this week, if your Hobby Lobby is on the same schedule as mine, that is. Paintbrushes, of course. You're definitely going to need a fine point paintbrush for detailing of the face of the gingerbread ornaments with the face on them. The rolling pin ornaments, I did not put a face on. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You're going to need several different paints. I used a silver metallic, a crafter's collection in the color cedar bark. I think that's great for gingerbread. Red, black, and white. Now, if you want to use chalk paint to paint any of these, Snow White Waverly is a good one. The Snow White color is a great one. Crimson for the red. But as far as the gingerbread, I'm going to tell you my preference is not any of the Waverly colors. I really think that cedar bark is a great one. There's a few other ones in the folk art brand, etc. But you could always put a base coat with one of the Waverlys and then put a top coat of cedar bark for a better color. I'm showing you here some ribbons here, and I'm also showing you some rickrack. Now, if you want to use rickrack, say, for example, on the rolling pin ornament, you could use that. That's from Hobby Lobby in the sewing department with all the trims. Every other week, those are 40% off. That beautiful ribbon there with the polka dots and the stripes on the back side of the ribbon, that's from Hobby Lobby. There's some other good examples of ribbons to use. Anything with polka dots or a peppermint candy theme would be great on these ornaments. I have there a cord that I got in the sewing department, same department where I got the rickrack, and that is a great cord for creating hangers. You could also use a very narrow satin ribbon. That would work well as well. All right, I'm going to do 4 of these little mason jar ornaments. And I'm going to take my ruler and just put a line across the top of the jar that divides it from the cap or the lid of the jar. Okay, now, like I said, it's been ages since I got these. I do just a few every year, so one package will last you like 5 years. So if you do, if you like to do theme ornaments, but I would just look on Amazon for that. And I'm going to paint the cap or the lid of the ornament, if you will, the wood ornament, with a silver metallic, just to simulate the cap on an actual mason jar lid. And now I'm going to paint that. I'm going to paint that on the front and the back. Now I'm going to use this cedar bark color for the gingerbread. That's just my absolute favorite for anything gingerbread. If you want to put down a coat of another chalk paint color and then maybe just use the cedar bark for your top coat, you could do that as well. Reason why I bring that up is because I ended up using like 3 coats of the cedar bark to cover the wood very well, but I like a really nice solid smooth application of color. So for my rolling pins, I did the same thing, and I painted those and also 3 coats on those. So the handles, I'm going to make those red. Now I'm using the Crafters collection in the color red, but you could use crimson, Waverly chalk paint. That would give you a quicker coverage if you don't want to put several coats. Up to you. I did the 3 coats, and it was no big deal for me. But so just go ahead and paint the handles of the rolling pins red. Now I'm going to be using that very cute polka dot ribbon to embellish the handles of my rolling pin ornaments. But if you don't want to use a polka dot ribbon and you just want to use maybe plain ribbons, I also used a little narrow ribbon that has gingerbreads all over it, and I'll show you that in case you didn't catch it in the materials intro. But what I was going to bring up is that if you don't use a polka dot for those ribbons on the side, I would take something with a little flat, tiny round end, and I would use polka dots, white polka dots, on the handles of my rolling pins. So that's a cute option, but I'm using a polka dot ribbon, so I'm not going to do an overkill with polka dots. So just suggesting that. I'll bring it up again later. Okay, so I took my ruler and I took my Sharpie marker, which doesn't really show up much at all on that cap, but it does create an indentation. So I just went across the top of my lid and created some lines. And this is just, again, to simulate kind of more so like the lid on a mason jar. Now later you're going to see me take a dry brush with the color black, and I'm just going to go over those lines a little bit and make that look a little bit more visually interesting. You'll see that later. All right, so I have on the front and back, by the way, of course, you're going to paint the back of your ornaments. So the silver and the gingerbread color, the cedar bark. So I'm going to take a pencil now, and I'm going to begin drawing the face on all of the front of my wood mason jars. Now, I like to use a pencil always to draw in all of my initial features. And I just drew the squiggle line going all the way around that gingerbread color area. Now, I just recently posted a video showing the exact way in which I draw and paint the very same face that I'm going to be painting on these ornaments. So check out that video because I do a close-up, slow, methodical, detailed tutorial on how I do whimsical faces, at least one of the faces. I do multiple faces. This isn't the only face that I do, but this is one of the faces I do often, okay? So I start by putting a couple of parallel lines down the center of the face, and then I attach a teardrop shape to that. Now, this is a small drawing, a little bit difficult for you to see, but as I just mentioned, I just posted a detailed tutorial on how to do this. So I was intending very much for you to be able to watch that in order to start creating a lot of gingerbread ornaments that I'm going to be creating for a very large, a 9-foot tall gingerbread theme Christmas tree. So I am going to be doing some very cute and creative, I think, gingerbread decor to go on that tree. So for the nose of this gingerbread, now I did draw a circle, as you can see right there, but I'm actually going to be using a wood half round, a 1/4-inch wood half round. I like to use that on a lot of my gingerbread decor. So I'm going to be using that, but you could paint it if you like. And then I also drew in a smiling mouth. Now there's that wood half round, and that's going to be going right over the top of that area where I drew a circle for the nose. Now I'm going to take my 4 little wood half rounds, put them on a piece of painter's tape, and I'm just going to paint those up red. I will be gluing those to the center of the face with Aleene's tacky glue. So I'm just going to use a small paintbrush. I'm going to make sure to completely cover them. I think I ended up putting just a couple of quick coats on those wood half rounds. Now you're definitely going to need a fine point paintbrush. I sound like a broken record because I keep saying it over and over and over. You need a fine point brush in order to do these faces. Now, you're going to do first the parallel lines down the center, and I'm going to paint in the eyeballs first. Now, I do this very slowly and very carefully. And be careful, whatever paints you use. I would not use chalk paint to do fine facial features. The reason being, often chalk paint is thicker. And if you use these acrylics, the paint is thinner and it's easier to glide on and to create features. But you're going to need that fine point brush in order to do eyelashes, in order to just do all of those fine defining lines of the eyes, outlining the hearts on the mouth, doing the line of the mouth, doing the little eyebrows. Very important that you have a good fine point brush. So now I'm just filling in all the features of these ornaments. The eyeballs, just some small little eyelashes, eyebrows. Now, when I create ornaments like this, I generally don't just do like one of these. I do like multiples. So I find that it's easiest if you just do them kind of like an assembly line fashion. So I'll go around and I'll do all of the outlining, the eyes, the mouth, anything that I can do with the fine point brush. And I'll go around and I'll do all of that on each one. That way I don't have to keep running and cleaning my brush and all that. It's just easier that way for me. If you're just going to do one, obviously you do you and do however you want to do it. Anyway, but yeah, that's the way I do it. And I feel like I get them done so much quicker like that. But I knew that I wanted to do some of these, just the more simple ornaments, ones without so much detail, because I always think of these kind of ornaments as fillers on a tree. Kind of like, when you're creating a wreath and you add like mesh tubing bundles, or you're doing a floral arrangement and you add fillers to add fill in, to add and to fill in like spaces. Well, that's why I'm creating these. I have some really outstanding dynamic pieces that I've already done and that I plan to do on my channel. But these little ones are also awesome. I mean, they really add visual interest to a tree and they fill in spaces. And they're just so cute. They might be just simple, but they're just so cute. I love all the little detail of them. So now, as you can see, I'm taking my fine point paintbrush and I have my white paint out now. So now I'm going to go around and fill in all of those eyeballs on each one of the 4 gingerbread faces on my little mason jar ornaments. So I'm very careful on this part and I take my time. These are going to be super cute. This is my favorite face, my favorite eyes to create. So you will often see me do this, but yeah, I'm going to try and change it up and do a couple of different faces on some of my upcoming gingerbread ornaments so that you can see other little variations. So now I'm going around with my fine tip brush, and I'm going over those little white squiggle lines. Now, if you use chalk paint on here, just be careful. It's good for coverage quicker. All right, I'm going to say that for sure. But what I always find, for the most part, about chalk paint is it's thicker, and when you're doing these little fine lines, you may not necessarily want something that's thicker. So I go over all of my lines. I'm using a white acrylic. I love Crafters Collection acrylics. They sell the brand at Hobby Lobby. I just like them because they're very smooth and rich in color. And I feel that they have good coverage. Possibly not as good as chalk paint, but very good. Now, I did go around and did a second coat. And when I do my second coat, I usually thicken up my lines a little bit. Now I'm taking my fine point paintbrush and adding the white light in the eye. And see how easy this is if you want to create, maybe you want to create a few for your tree, but maybe you also want to create 1 or 2 for a friend or a family member. I think ornaments are such a fun thing to share. Handmade ornaments, oh, they're the best. Because every year, the recipient takes that ornament out and they remember, that you made that for them. And that's very special. Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. Okay, I'm taking my red paint with my fine point paintbrush, and I'm painting in my little red hearts. Now, I characteristically put hearts at the corners of the mouth on my gingerbreads. So I did those, and I filled those in with a couple of coats. Now, I do tend to fuss a little bit over my painting. You'll see me going back and correcting an eyeball or, fixing an outline. But yeah, I am really kind of a fanatic about detail and getting things right. Now, I'm going to also take my fine point paintbrush and I'm going to outline the hearts. Now, this is going to require a very light touch with just a little bit of paint on the tip of your paintbrush. You don't want a heavy line around your hearts. You also want a nice fine line around the eyeballs, the whites of the eyes on the bottom of the eye. So take it easy. Don't load your brush up. Make it a very fine little tiny bit of paint on the end of your paintbrush. And then keep a very light hand, a light touch of the tip of your brush on your piece. You almost want just a little wispy line, kind of like when you do eyelashes. Okay, one of my favorite parts, I'm going to do my cheeks. All right, so I have like a nice short bristly brush. I dip it in my red paint and I have a paper towel and I'm going to, in a circular motion, just keep rubbing around in circles until I get most of the paint off of my brush. I only want a little subtle effect of that dry brush red on the cheeks. And I love to do cheeks. So yeah, make sure that you don't have a blob of paint on the tip of your paintbrush. See how I work that? And I'm able to control that situation by just rubbing it on the paper towel until I see that the paint is really, for the most part, barely on that paintbrush. So doing my cheeks, I make it go all the way around the heart, a little bit even around the curve of the mouth up there by where the hearts are. Now you'll see this larger, if you will, quite a bit larger on the tutorial that I just did as a request by a number of my subscribers to show how I do faces. So I have a video just explicitly intended for that purpose, to for you to really see up close how to do that. Okay, so now I have my fine tip paintbrush again. See how important that is? And I dip it in white acrylic paint, and I'm just putting little freckles on the cheeks of my gingerbread that's becoming cuter by the moment here. Okay, so I believe now, yes, I'm taking my black, dipping it very lightly in my paintbrush in that black paint. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did with my red for the cheeks. I'm just going to do dry brushing, for heaven's sakes. I almost had trouble getting that out. And I'm just doing a little bit of dry brushing. And that's going to go right down in those crevices where I drew those lines with that Sharpie marker. And it just adds a little depth and dimension to that lid. I'm going to do that on all four. See how great it is to just line them up and just do it. I like to do assembly line ornaments. You get so much done and much quicker. Look how cute they are so far. All right. So my noses are dry. And I'm going to take a very little bit of Aleene's Tacky Glue. I'm going to wipe off the excess there because I kind of got a big blob on there. And I'm just going to pop the nose down right there where I had intended for it to be. I think I even drew in a circle where I wanted it to be. Now, later you're going to see me go over the nose and the curves of the heart with a dry brush technique in white. And that's just going to kind of mute that red a little bit and just, it softens it, makes it look really, really cute. But I'm going to wait until those dry, the glue dries. I'm going to go ahead and put all the noses on. You see how easy that is to just do them in an assembly line? So I think I'm going to do the white now. Yes, I dipped my bristly brush in white, and now you can see me rubbing it all off. So I have just a tiny little bit, and I'm going to use a very light touch and just swoosh over the top of the nose. This is a really nice effect on, I do this on all of my characters. Even if I'm doing a carrot nose on a snowman, or if I'm doing a nose on a reindeer, I always put that little swoosh, that dry brush white swoosh over the top of the nose. And it's just a really cute effect. So now it's really coming together. And now we are almost to the end of the face painting. I'm going to be applying a very cute little polka dot bow to the top left corner by the lid of all of my mason jar ornaments. Okay, so I'm just going to create one little figure 8 bow, and I'm going to keep the loops really small. I'm going to use some craft wire or floral wire. It's 26 gauge. You need something really, really small, like a very thin wire, like a 26 gauge wire. I'm going to fold my loop over and keep it pinched in the center with my thumb and my index finger. Then I'm going to fold my loop over on the other side, creating kind of a figure 8. So I'm going to take my craft wire and I'm going to wrap it over the center, bring it around to the back, and then I'm going to squish it so that it gathers up right in the center. Pull it really, really hard. Gather up the center of that bow, and that's going to give you a nicer, better looking bow if you do that. Gather it up, and I'll show you here. Now I have a cute little bow. Now, I'm going to be putting a jingle bell in the center of this bow. You know, I always put something in the center of my bows, and I just thought it would be cute to add something, you know, to the top of my mason jar. So I had some really small red jingle bells, and you'll see me later. I'm going to hot glue that to the top of that mason jar, and that's going to look super cute on the tree. Now I'm also going to make some hangers for my ornaments, and I'm going to use that red cord for that. I guess I'm going to show you that one more time. Yeah, I am. A little small bow, holding it, see, with my thumb and my index finger, my left hand. Then I'm going to take my ribbon and fold over the other loop into kind of a figure 8. Hold it in the center there. Cut my ribbon off from the spool. Take a piece of that 26 gauge wire. Wrap it around the center, going right in between the tails there. Bring it around the back and pull it super tight. Then twist your wire while you're pulling. And this will hold your little bow together, but would also gather it. And that's what's going to give you like a really cute look to your bow. And then we have a nice little spot there for that jingle bell, and we'll also cover up the wire. Now my tails are obviously really short, but notice that I angle them. You certainly would not want to be dovetailing these tails. I would definitely go with an angle on these. And they're very short tails, but they're going to look best if you angle them. Those are my old scissors. So don't cringe too much if you see me cutting wire, because those are my older scissors. Usually I have my wire cutters, but I don't know where they are at that moment. I was doing that. So I have all 4 of my bows made now. So they're all ready to go on my mason jars. All right, so I have this little gingerbread ribbon. It's a very narrow ribbon. And that I got at Michael's, I think a couple of years ago. It's a Celebrate ribbon, but I would check and see what they have this year. And I thought I was going to make a double bow, which I did end up doing that, but I didn't end up using that particular polka dotted ribbon. I used another one. You'll see that here in just a minute. So I'm going to do a figure 8 bow, just exactly like I did for the polka dots, the polka dot ribbon. Again, that's a Celebrate ribbon, and it's little gingerbreads, and how appropriate that's going to be for these ornaments, for the rolling pins. Now, I'm not painting a face on the rolling pin because I'm going to hang my rolling pins horizontally. If you want to do these ornaments with the rolling pins and you want to hang them vertically, you could put a face on your rolling pin. I'm doing like a less is more kind of thing with mine. I wanted mine just to be like a hint of gingerbread, but I don't want a face on everything that's going to go on my tree. I think that would be a little bit monotonous. So I'm just going to do kind of a hint of the gingerbread. So I'm doing the gingerbread ribbon. I'm also going to do the gingerbread scroll, or the wiggle lines or squiggle lines around the ends of that rolling pin. I'll show you that here in a bit. But what I'm going to do here is I have my little bow maker. I designed this. It's just wood dowels inserted into a block of wood. My son made this for me, and I absolutely love it. I can do bows in all different widths. And what I like about it is I'm able to finish the bow with a center, but only creating a two-loop bow. So this enables me to do that. I just crisscross my ribbon. I bring it up over the top and under. Now, you may be able to do like a finger bow. I've heard people call it that. I don't really do those. If you've ever noticed, I never really do them. Probably because I have this great bow maker. Yeah, but you could do a finger bow and accomplish pretty much the same thing. So I was able to create a 1.5 inch wide bow on my bow maker. And I know that because I label the widths of all of my dowels in there. So I was doing a 1.5 inch, and I know that because I measured it out when we created the piece. Okay, so those little bows that I created with my little dowel bow maker are going to go on top of the gingerbread bows. So I'm going to have a little double mixed ribbon little bow to go on the ends of my rolling pin. Now, I mentioned that I was going to put those squiggle lines, and I'm going to do that on the ends of my rolling pin. Now, like I said, if you want to create this piece to hang vertically, you could put a little gingerbread face on there if you wanted to. But I'm just doing mine in a particular way that it's a gingerbread theme, but I just don't have a face on it. I have I have a lot of decor that's going onto this tree, and I want to really mix it up. And I think these are just turned out so cute. But I think they're unmistakably gingerbread, so that was the point. Okay, so again, my fine tip paintbrush, and I am using chalk, Snow White Waverly chalk paint here on these. I did thin out my chalk paint just a little bit. I was hoping that maybe I would only have to do one coat, but yeah, no. I ended up doing two, even though I was using the chalk paint. But I just go around and put the paint over all of my pencil lines. Now you're going to see later that for both of my ornaments, all of my squiggle lines are going to be layered with a layering of Mod Podge and sprinkled on with an ultra fine white glitter. So it's going to give all those squiggle lines a beautiful shimmer. I'm not really big on chunky glitter, but I love an ultra fine glitter. So that's going to even further embellish these very cute ornaments and give them a little bit of sparkle so that the lights on the Christmas tree will really show off that ultra fine glitter on there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do all of those. And here I am doing just what I just mentioned. I take a paintbrush and I dip it in Mod Podge. And I do small sections at a time. And then once I have my Mod Podge on there, I'm just going to sprinkle my ultra fine glitter. I have a paper towel under there, so I could just wad that up when I'm done and try and minimize the glitter mess, because ultra fine is even harder to clean up than the chunky. Or maybe it's vice versa. I don't know. The chunky sometimes just sticks to my face like it just does not want to come off. Okay, so sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle all the way around. And all of those white squiggle lines on both the mason jars and the rolling pins are going to get the ultra fine glitter. And I just love this effect on these ornaments. Now just be sure that you do paint the back side. I don't do a face on the back side, obviously, only on the front, but you do want your ornaments finished. So when they're on the tree, you don't have any unsightly, back of an ornament that hasn't been tended to with paint. So, okay, this cord, love this cord. I'm waiting for it to come out in the Christmas department. I have not seen it yet. Last year, they came out with it in the Christmas department, and I bought multiple spools because I love this cord. It's like a satiny nylon. Yeah, makes great hangers for ornaments. So I just created a teardrop and I tied a knot. It's that simple. I'm going to be hot gluing that knot part of that knotted loop on the back side of the mason jar lid. And that's how I'm going to hang these ornaments, which, by the way, are like light as a feather. So you certainly don't have to worry about that. So you can use hot glue. That'll be just fine. So I made all of my hangers. Again, assembly line, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam, you're done. Now for my rolling pins, I'm going to take some hot glue and just place that cord right there on the inner side of the actual rolling pin part, right like that. And it pretty much touches up against the red handles. Now this is also where I'm going to place my bows. So you're going to have an extra means of securing that hanger. Not that you need a whole lot, because this is a very lightweight ornament as well. But when your bow goes on there, that's going to hold it as well. I'm going to go ahead and glue those on right there at the base of the mason jar lid there. And I tack it down just a little bit more as well, up a little bit higher, so that that loop sits flush on the back of there, just like that. Now we have a perfect hanger. You could as well use a very narrow ribbon. If you wanted these to look a little more rustic, you could use a piece of jute twine. That's up to you. And there we go. Another knotted hanger on the mason jar. A little bit of extra so that that teardrop lies flat, that teardrop shape, and there you go. And then we have the other two, and now we have to put on our bows. Those as well are going to be hot glued. Getting off all those pesky glue strands or strings. Okay, now for me, I like it on the upper left-hand side, my little bow. And you can see how I placed it there. It's kind of hanging off of the side a little bit. That's the way I like my bows on these ornaments. A dab of hot glue will do it. And then as well, we're going to put the red jingle bell on there. If you wanted to, if you had some of those little ornamental, little round peppermint candies, that might be another option. Anything polka dot or candy striped, anything like that is great on gingerbread. I'm going to be doing some gingerbread wood cutout houses to go on the Christmas tree. Oh boy, I have lots of stuff planned. Lots of fun decor. I'm going to start off by doing a lot of gingerbread. So hopefully you're a gingerbread fan. I'm sorry, my hand's a little out of frame there, but I'm going to show you. Okay, so I'm going to put my polka dot ribbon right on top of the gingerbread ribbon. Now that is completely finished now because I did my polka dot bow on my little bow maker, so my center is finished. I don't have to put anything in the center of that bow. Remember the gingerbread one though, however, was a figure 8. So that wire's showing, and that's why I'm putting that polka dot bow right on top of it, and you will never see that wire. Hot glue right there. Pop my bow on. And I just love this. So simple, but yet so cute, right? Tell me what you think of these. I love that. I love the way it's going to hang on the tree. But again, you do you. Or maybe you could do a couple of each. Maybe a couple hanging horizontal, and then maybe a couple of vertical ones, and you could put your little face on there. Here comes the bells. Just a little bit of hot glue right in the center of that bow. I'm going to pop that on there, and I no longer see that wire that I used to close that bow. Now for my 9-foot Christmas tree that I keep talking about, I'm doing this for the Quantum House. If you are one of my subscribers or regular viewers, you hear me talk about this often. But I'm creating a very big, beautiful gingerbread theme Christmas tree. I'm going to be showing you how to do Christmas tree bows coming up. And I'm going to take you on that journey from start to finish. Once I have the tree done, I will show it to you. And here you have one last look at these super cute ornaments. What do you think of these? Yes, I'm loving them. Lots more to come. I hope you're excited. Let me know what you think about gingerbread and how anxious are you to see these projects. Okay, until next time, you all take care.